Before we dive into this episode, I have a really quick announcement that I'm actually really excited to share with you. If you're listening to the Sacred Roots podcast, I know it's because you've had a spiritual awakening. You know there's more out there than what you've been taught. And you also want to use that knowledge, use that wisdom, use those rituals to really unlock your highest potential and express all of who you are. And you might have tried to do that and also address these topics with your friends, but they've probably told you that you were too witchy, too crazy, too out there. I mean, that definitely happened to me when I was on my spiritual path. Well, if that's you as well, it's probably because you haven't found your tribe yet. And this is why I've created the Swan Temple, because so many of us are awakening, whatever that means to you, but realizing that there's more out there, that we are supported by the invisible. And then we want to explore that, but we don't always know where to find the good information that's really going to support us, inspire us. And this One Temple is that space. It's a sacred space for you to connect with yourself, but also to connect with others. Because as women, it's super important for us to find our tribe. When you think about the story of the ugly duckling is actually a swan. But it feels like the ugly duckling because it's surrounded by ducks. You are a swan. You are an hypersensitive, empathic, powerful woman that needs to find her tribe of swans in order to thrive. As women, we really thrive when we are in community. We co regulate our nervous systems. And it's when we can be seen and witnessed by others that we can actually start to really see ourselves. And so the Swan Temple is my divine feminine community where we gather twice a month for workshops that I lead and expert sessions with amazing guests that I have invited into the community so that you can learn, you can expand, you can heal, you can grow spiritually, you can uncover more of the unseen. And mostly you can do that in a fun and playful way while being super connected with other women, like-minded sisters, witches, priestesses, woman entrepreneurs, and modern mystics who are craving that community. Ancient cultures had these sacred circles where women would come together, tell stories around the fire. We don't live like that anymore. But today, with the internet, we have the amazing opportunity to be able to come together online in communities like these. And cherry on the cake, I'm really excited because this year we are also organizing a retreat with the Swan Temple community. So get on the wait list if this is all calling you, because I will be reopening the doors May 1st with Beltane, which is the fire celebration where we let go of the old and call in the new. I will be hosting an event as well, but more details will follow on that. But join the waitlist to make sure to be the first to grab a spot in the Swan Temple so that you can join this divine feminine community and join our retreat that's going to be in August in Belgium. I'm really excited to welcome you all in this community. And now let's finish the talk and dive into today's episode. Welcome, everybody, for another episode of the Sacred Roots podcast. Today we have Christine with us, which is, I'm really excited that we're going to have this conversation because I haven't had this kind of conversation on the podcast yet. And I have a feeling you are going to love this conversation. I know I'm going to love it because we are going to talk about indigenous traditions, Mayan traditions, the Mayan cross, and we need that wisdom now in our modern lives. So Christine, why don't you introduce yourself instead of me just reading some few lines that you might have sent me? I would rather have it coming from your heart. So tell us about who you are and what you do in the world.
Yay, I'm so grateful to be here. So my name is Christine Olivia Hernandez. I am an author, a cacao ceremonialist. I'm the creator of Matiosh method, which is a gratitude method. Matiosh stands for thank you, and it means deep gratitude in Mayan. And the Mayans like to thank, from their hearts to the heart of things. And so it's this beautiful way for us to connect to our hearts, to connect our mind, body, and our souls. And it's a beautiful way to infuse and share my ancestral plant medicine. So it's Mayan cacao, meditation, and movement. I'm the author of A Child of Magic, which has already been published. That was a self-published book, and really magical and fun, and a reminder for us to connect to our hearts, to remember our magic, and
Mhm.
remember that everyone comes from magic, and we're all really connected, and we can get guidance from the elements and from our loving ancestors and from the magical realms and magical worlds. So yeah, it's a really
I love
fun, playful book, but it's also a book for the inner child and really for adults. It's not a children's book. Most people think, oh, Child of Magic, but it's for your inner child, and it's also it's a way to create a ceremony. It's like a bridge from this, yeah, beautiful magical world uh, to everyone, to be able to create ceremony and a ritual in a really playful, simplistic yet powerful way. So it's really fun. The way I start the book is very different. In the introduction, I introduce what ceremony is and how to create your own ceremony at home with cacao. So really, yeah, really sweet. So yeah, that's a bit about what I do. My lineage is of Mayan descent. There's also Azteca. Yeah, the Aztecs are also descendants from the Mayans, and what I really resonate with is the Mayan teachings, and that is what I share with other people all over the world, and love sharing my ancestral plant, which is the cacao, which is that gentle, heart opening plant medicine, gentle yet profound medicine and magic. Yeah.
Mhm. Beautiful. Thank you, Christine, for this beautiful introduction. So, when you talked about your book and your Mayan origins, you said one of the things you love to do is to share about Mayan traditions. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, and maybe a small introduction for those who might not know who the Mayan people are, where they come from, what their core beliefs are, and so what some of those teachings are?
Mm. Well, that's a, a very big question. Um, so, the Mayan ancestors, they are from Mesoamerica, right? They're native to the Americas, and they were all over these lands. And where some of my ancestors are from Mexico in particular, as well as from Guatemala. But yeah, I mean, they're very expansive. And however, with Guatemala, that is where you can find the most Mayans per capita.
Okay.
So it's really fascinating, the history of Guatemala and of the Mayan people. Yeah, when my father actually left Guatemala, that was during the Civil War, and many people left Guatemala at that time because, I mean, there's a civil war happening, and there was a genocide happening where they were killing many indigenous people. Um,
Mhm.
250,000 people were murdered or disappeared, is how they call it
Mhm.
also. And it was mostly Mayan indigenous peoples.
Yeah, that's
So yeah,
terrible.
the history is really, um, yeah, it's really intense, really, really sad, of course. And one of the most, I feel like, practical teachings is with the Mayan calendar. At least I'm trying to make it more accessible, more practical, and easy to understand, because there's so much wisdom in ancient teachings, and in all indigenous teachings. There's a lot of similar themes that go on, and it's really about connection to our hearts, our souls, the connection to our mother, our first mother, right, Mother Earth, and connection to
Mhm.
the cosmos, and that supports us in being aligned and fully being here and being present and being in right relation with ourselves, our inner world, and the workings of all other worlds, the outer world and the other dimensions as well. So there's this beautiful thing. But I'll bring it back to the Mayan calendar because it's a easy way for us to understand ourselves. And of course, it's this beautiful, complicated, intrinsic system that they've created. The Mayans were mathematicians and astrologers. They were incredibly advanced civilization. And there's so much that can be learned, yet many of the codexes were burned during colonization by the Catholics and the colonizers. So there isn't a lot of codexes, yet many Mayans were able to escape colonization and flee into the highlands and flee into the mountains. And so you do have oral teachings. However, even with oral teachings, right, the patriarchy has even
Mm.
seeped into the oral teachings, and there are dogmatic ways and elitist ways within all traditions. And so it's really important to, I feel, learn from our elders, and also to really listen to our hearts and to our intuition and to the wisdom within our soul. So to, yeah, take what resonates and learn from our elders and those beautiful guides that are here still, the wisdom keepers, and also know that we are also wisdom keepers.
Of
And
course.
the wisdom of our ancient ancestors is still, right, the wisdom of the wisest of ways is still within our blood. So that which truly resonates with our heart can stay, and that which doesn't gets to go. So yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot there.
So when you say Mayan calendar, my
Mhm.
mind is directly imagining a little square with 31 other little squares, Monday to Sunday, and numbers. Can
Yes.
you explain a little bit more what that actually is? Because I am sure that's not what it is.
No, yes, that's a Gregorian, right, calendar. And what we're speaking
Yeah.
to is the sacred Mayan calendar, which is comprised of 260 days, and that includes 20 Nawales, which have, different energies that combine with 13 numbers that have their own energies of their own. When we combine those together, we create a unique Nawale for you, for the time and date that you were born. And of course, this will
Okay.
shift. This will also shift, and the energy will change by every year as well, right? So if you're born in a certain year, then you have a certain year lord. Yeah, the calendar is mapped out, for thousands and thousands of years. And of course, yeah, it's a very complex system, but it's very practical. So those energies come together to really show you your personality, to really guide you, and to show, like, this is your personality, your traits, what qualities you have, what comes easy to you, and also, what challenges may come as well, kind of helping us to see our blind spots.
Yeah.
And yeah,
It's a little bit like an astrological natal chart.
similar, yeah, exactly. And similar to that, however, it's kind of without the fluff. I feel like sometimes, everyone just has like a very like shiny sign, and that's lovely. But when we come to the Mayan calendar, it's a little bit more, earthy and a bit more grounded. There are signs like, let's just speak on mine, Ashbu, which is the sun. And the sun shines very brightly, and that seems very beautiful. However, with three Ashpu, this is a more internal process, and meaning I will really be shining from the inside out. So even what people may see on the outside is not even as brilliant as what is happening within. And
Mm.
the reason that I can shine so brightly is because that I have experienced incredible challenges and difficulties and hardships, so I have to go through the dark in order to shine like the sun in all of its brilliance. And so, yeah, it's a quite a challenging, Nawale is how my spiritual teachers say, like, this is the most challenging, one of the most challenging Nawales to have, and it's the most shamanic of them as well. However, uh, the teachers say that this is not one that they would consider favorable because of the challenges.
It looks like you're, embracing and facing them and doing a great job at them.
Yes, I am
So
supported. I am highly supported. So.
that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you.
So you help people then, with this Mayan calendar, you help people then see where they're at in their life. And can you see the potential of someone in that Mayan calendar and see if they're actually stuck in expressing all of that potential? Because I guess, we're all in a huge search on the earth to discover who we are. Who am I is a question that comes back often, so that the divine can actually also experience who she is, who he is through us.
Mm.
And in the end, um, we're here to know who we are so that we can express all of who we are and serve all of who we are. So I guess the purpose, but I'm completely assuming here, of this Mayan calendar is to help people indeed really step into their highest potential.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. To understand themselves so that they can see what comes easy, I guess. See, again, be
Mm,
simplistic with it. See what comes easy. What energy am I born with? Okay, I am like the sun. I shine. I'm friendly. I can see that part of myself and remember that when I forget, and use that thread so that that can support me with my dharma, and knowing that, okay, I get to show up. So yeah, I'm going to go through really difficult times, but I'm here for a purpose. I'm here to shine in my authenticity. I'm here to shine in my light. And so when the challenges come, or someone wants to suppress my voice or put me down or tell me that I am something other than I am, it can support me in remembering that, and yeah, and show me my, other qualities that will support me on my path, if that makes sense.
yeah, yeah, beautiful, amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, can that calendar also help you forecast what's going to happen in your life in the next months, years?
Not within the next months. So the Mayan calendar shows you your Nawala, and then you can work out um, your year lord as well, right? So the energy of your year lord, and you can combine that. I
Mm,
have in my year lord, which means that I will be traveling. So it does tell me these things like, yes, that is true. I love to travel, right? It's the journey, it's the path, and so that's my year lord. And then when it comes to knowing how to work out, like it supports you in knowing how to work with the feminines in your life, with the feminine within others, right? And also with the masculine as well. And in the masculine side, it also represents the physical world and work and career and that. Whereas with the feminine side, it represents what's happening within your creations and with your art. It also, with the cross, shows your past. So, like the energy that you came in with. And so it's supportive in that, like, we may not remember all the things that happened in our childhood or in our past, but we can use that to be like, okay, that probably influenced me in this way or in that way. Um, and then coming into our eldership, it supports us in knowing where we're going. So it does tell
mm,
you um, where you are going. And the cross is from childhood to the age of 26 is when you hit eldership. You actually come into eldership at the age of 26 and move into it until the age of 52. And then once you hit the age of 52, you're hitting another energy as well. So coming into my eldership, I'm coming into Canil, which is really exciting because it's actually the ripening. It's the golden, it's the gold. It's prosperous. It's actually very abundant. So it's like, okay, I go through all these challenges. It's really fucking hard. Excuse my French. It's really difficult at times. And I'm already coming into the golden, era. And as you can see, I'm turning 36 on the 28th next week. And yeah, I can feel this shift and this change, and that like everything is for me. And I can imagine, I can see all the points for like, oh, this happened this year. And it's fascinating. Yeah. Very
mm,
interesting.
beautiful. I always find it so funny when people, use that expression, excuse me, my French, because French is my mother tongue. And I'm like, that was not French. But of course, it's a way of saying, oh, sorry, I cussed. So let's say I spoke French. So
Yeah.
yeah, it always makes me laugh.
It's perfect.
um, I can see that you're so passionate, and we could talk about this for hours. I have so many more questions, but first, I would love to know, have you always owned that wisdom, or was there a part of you growing up in North America that was like, yeah, all right, this is my ancestors, but I don't know if that's my thing? Like, what was the journey to you being almost an elder, stepping into that new energy and actually teaching this?
That's such a beautiful question. Thank you so much for asking that because no, I was not. And I think many of us, go through a phase where we forget. And I think that's part of our journey here on Earth School is to forget so that we can really
Mm,
reclaim who we truly are. And part of, reclaiming our true selves, our soul self on that beautiful divine space, knowing that we are the divine, we are part of the divine, we are the love, we are the light, we are everything. We also get to understand our roots and know our lineage's teachings because there's so much medicine within that and so much to learn from that. I was very, very much disconnected from my roots, like completely to the point where I had even forgotten that I think I was even Guatemalan, my father's side, because he
mhm.
committed suicide. It was so traumatic that I definitely, had a lot of just trauma around it. And so I forgot a
Yeah.
lot of things. And not until I was introduced to cacao did that like memory come back and then understanding like, wait a minute, I'm Guatemalan. I was introduced to cacao for the first time. It was Mayan cacao from Guatemala. So of course that was very
Wake
much
up
like,
call.
you know,
Yeah.
blasted me exactly, blasted me open and brought me back quite instantaneously back to connection with my heart and my lineage. Like this is a calling and an understanding that I'm meant to work with this ancestral plant for myself, for my own healing of my own heart, my broken heart, and also to share it, yeah, with the world because many people had no idea what cacao was at that time. And I think it's starting to be understood by many that this is plant
Mhm.
medicine and it's powerful medicine. But at that time, I was like, everyone gets to know. And I knew it was a part of my path to share it. And so I would share it with anyone and everyone who would listen to me. Like, cacao's incredible. It's this, it's so healthy. It's so powerful. It is heart medicine. And I would talk about, the anandamide, which is the bliss molecule, and all the enzymes and the health benefits, because there's so much within it that makes it like a superfood, but as well as that spiritual aid. And it just blew my mind that nobody knew about this. And people, are going to Starbucks
Yeah.
daily instead of having a cow. Like, why don't we have a place where we can drop into our hearts before we go
It's
about our
so
days?
beautiful.
Why just go to get, yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was my thinking and understanding. It brought me back to, yeah, to my heart, to my lineage, to my roots. And I think it's time for all of us to reclaim our roots because we are all indigenous to this world. We're all native to this world. We are all native to Earth. We are all human. We're actually all sisters and brothers. And so I think it's really important to reclaim our roots because there's a lot of lost wisdom and teachings and traditions and so much beauty and magic within our
Mhm.
indigenous roots. So
Absolutely. Do you
yeah.
feel guided
Yeah.
and supported by your ancestors in this mission? Because I guess you feel that it's really your mission to bring all of that wisdom and tradition into the West, quote unquote.
Absolutely. I feel 100% guided by the loving ancestors within my lineage. And I think that's an important note to make is that we have many different types of ancestors. I know I have many ill ancestors that when I do this work, I to heal my heart and to connect with my soul and remember who I am and to reclaim my magic and these beautiful teachings as well. I am not only healing myself, but I'm also healing my lineage. I'm healing those ancestors. I'm doing this work for them as well as for those who come after me. And I am 100% guided by the wisest of the ancestors, the ancient ancestors that are there, the medicine women that were there, right? Those beautiful women and men that are there in my
Mm.
lineage, 100%. And we all are. And it's very beautiful and special to bring that back, remembering that we can welcome them in and ask for
Of
their
course,
support.
so beautiful. So, in your everyday life, do you have certain rituals, certain habits, certain ways of doing things that actually come from that tradition and that would be completely weird to someone born in either Europe or North America?
Hmm. Well, I would say my daily ritual includes gratitude, and that is a very simple practice, and that is a practice that the Mayans
Yeah,
have practiced for forever. From the beginning of time, they were practicing gratitude, just like I think most indigenous
that's true.
peoples do, because they know that that is reciprocity. So the Mayans, if you were to sit in a ceremony with the Mayans, they would say thank you dozens of times within the ceremony. Ojlahil Matioshil is 13 thank yous, meaning giving thanks to all things, to not forget anything at all. Even if we don't remember the names, it's thanking all things within
Mm.
those words. It's very
It
powerful.
reminds
Yeah,
me of
powerful phrase.
a temazcal that I did with an elder in BC. And in Canada, of course, you have a lot of very ancient as well indigenous tribes that still live in their ways in the forest, in the woods. And so I was doing a retreat on their land, and they were generous enough to lead us into a temazcal. But because I was bleeding, I wasn't allowed to do the temazcal because it's probably the same with the Mayan. They have this belief. It's not. I think it's not even a belief. It's a knowing that when you're bleeding, you're really in your power. And so I
Mm-hmm.
loved it because she said, "No, you're bleeding. You're in your power. You can't do anything. You just have to receive." I was like, "Oh my God, I love this." Because in our
Mm-hmm.
world, even
Mm-hmm.
when we're bleeding, it's like you have to work, you have to show up, you have to give.
Yes.
Whereas there, it's just a remembrance and the knowing that you're bleeding, you're there to slow down, to receive,
Mm-hmm.
to be taken care of, because
Mm-hmm.
that's really when you're in your power.
Mm-hmm.
And it's true that I've had some very
Mm-hmm.
powerful spiritual experiences when I was bleeding, energetical. There's something that's opening when you are that week of the month.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were
Oh,
all in the
absolutely.
Temazcal, and I was sitting next to her, and we were looking at the fire and telling people, "Come and take the stone and put it in the Temazcal." And so I was really blessed to have a whole conversation with her during 2 hours. And she said to me, "Give your
Mm-hmm.
blessings and your gratitude every single evening and every morning when you wake up."
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just sharing that story just to
Mm-hmm.
reflect back at you that yes, these people are so rooted into gratitude, and it's so beautiful because it there was such a peace about this woman, so much wisdom. I felt like just an innocent little girl that had no idea about life, even though she's trying to teach a little bit about it. And so it was fascinating just to
Mm-hmm.
just be in her energy. And even though she had been through a lot of hardship, she was still so much in the gratitude and into the connection with the earth and the sky. And
Yes. Yes. So giving thanks
yeah,
for
it's so beautiful.
everything. Yeah.
So one of the
Mm-hmm.
other tools or traditions from the Mayan is the Mayan cross. Can you tell us about that?
Mm-hmm.
What is the Mayan cross?
So the Mayan cross makes up your sign, which is what we
Oh, it's
just
connected
spoke
to the
about, with
calendar.
which you read this in the
Okay.
Mayan calendar. The Mayan cross includes the past, the future, the feminine, the
Okay.
masculine. Yes. And I think another thing to share with the teachings, with the practice that we can all have and to infuse, right? This ancient practice is working with cacao. It's like this beautiful, it seems very simple to make yourself a cup of hot cacao. However, it's this beautiful medicine that you can work with almost on a daily practice. Of course, if you're not having a full ceremonial dose, you can almost do this daily, and it supports us with our heart health. It supports us with our creativity. It supports us with our, meditations, our ceremonies, everyday life, everything between the jungles and, you know,
I know you do cacao ceremonies, but I think you also mentor women, right?
Oh, yes, yes, this is exactly, of course. It's just an easy way to drop in and come into the heart space. So, yeah,
So, if
absolutely.
anyone that's listening to us wants to work with you, tell us a little bit more. What kind of woman do you work with, and what do you support them with?
Mm. I mean, I'm so open to working
Okay.
with men and to with women as well. I'm with women and men, of course. Just very open to supporting and helping people with learning more about themselves and working with the cross. So, what will happen if we're working one on one with mentorship? We will go through your cross to see the energy that you were born with. And, when we're having our one on one time, it's virtual, but we will drop in with
Mhm.
cacao. So, they can get the cacao. And I work with a women's collective in Guatemala. So, they'll be getting my Mayan cacao. And that way we can drop in together, which is really special. And there's other ways, you can work with me. I have different programs like the Heart of Cacao. So if you want to learn how to share cacao in your own communities, you can do so in right relation in a beautiful way, in an
Mhm.
intentional way. Yeah, yeah, many different ways.
So, right now on the earth, we are in a pretty challenging time, in case nobody had noticed. And I know the Mayan have their own prophecy about that. Can you share a little bit about
They predicted that we would go through incredible times and that there would be an end of times as well. This isn't new, and I think this isn't new to them. They knew that this would come. They knew the colonizers would come as well, and that would be followed by really, really challenging times. But I also know that the spiritual guides have faith and hope that we will change everything, that we will come together to create a new earth in a new way. So the times will change and it'll be like the end of the world, but it really be, a beginning, right? A new beginning for us and a new way of living and being. So the people that, are at the forefront of this, the ones that have gone through the challenges, we get to be the trailblazers, right? Like the phoenix that rises from the ashes. Like we've been through all of that so that we can guide others to be like, this is the path of this is the path that you want to take. This is where we get to go. And it can be challenging and hard, but like we can hold hands while we do it, right? We don't have to do
that?
this alone. And there's so much beauty on the other side of those
Yeah.
difficulties and challenges.
Um, there are so many cultures around the world where there's really this idea of death, rebirth, and new cycles. And the more I dive into that personally, and when I learn about um, these different cultures, I really see that it's part of nature, it's part of life, and the sun and the moon are teaching us that every single day,
Mhm.
with the sun disappearing and then always coming back. Mm.
Mm.
So I
Mhm.
love that the Mayans are also inviting us to basically, you're going to die, but it's going to be okay because something better is going to come after, right? If we can synthesize the message
Mhm.
in a simple way.
Mm.
Um, did
Mhm.
they say anything about what that new earth was going to be like and what we needed to create for that new earth really to exist? You said a little bit about we don't have to do it all alone. We can support each other, and I feel that that is going to be such a big element. And when we look at the stars, we know that we are in that
Mhm.
Aquarian age as well, which is all about community, connection, togetherness. Is there anything else that they
Yes.
suggested about that?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I would say an honoring of, you know, life in all forms, honoring the fact that everything is living, and when we honor everything, then we can work in right relation. We can be in right relation and continue to live and to we can thrive on the other side of things falling away. But really it's can fall into place that we can live in
Hmm.
a good way. Yeah, a lot of the Mayan teachings also is very, how should I say, metaphorical in ways, even the codexes, right? Which is like the Popol Vuh, for instance, which is like the Mayan Bible. it says that we were once, made out of different stuff. And right now we're in the being made out of corn. So we are like the corn people. And it's really, I feel like, reminding us that, you know, we are just like everything else. We are also like the corn. We are also like the plants. We are everything, and everything is us. And we're also not invincible, right? So remembering to take care of everything, to take care of ourselves, but also the earth
Yeah.
as well.
And if anyone, is really resonating with everything that you're sharing and wants to connect more with the earth, of course, there's cacao that is going to help you reconnect with the earth because cacao is the blood of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Is there
Mm-hmm.
any other
Mm-hmm.
practice or ritual or tool that they could use to actually reconnect with their real mother?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The plants that are your allies that call to you, your own ancestral plants, finding out what those are, like what plants are native to, the lands of your ancestors. And oftentimes, those are like the weeds. And, in the wise women traditions, we come to the weeds like the dandelion, and this is nourishing herbs that is literally like a multivitamin when we have it in its pure form. But yeah, really connecting with the plants. The plants are here to remind us of that wisdom, and meditating, really getting still so that you can listen to the guidance that wants to come through, but really being intentional when you meditate, really creating a beautiful, sacred space, a space of light where only unconditional love will reside, so that when you are receiving messages, you're receiving those messages from the light and the love and your loving ancestors and the good forces. Yeah, that's what I would
Beautiful.
recommend.
Well, I think you've shared a lot of tools for those who are listening to us. And I like to make those podcasts actually really practical because otherwise it's just information and it doesn't make a big difference. So this is a beautiful reminder for us to
Mm-hmm.
slow down, to meditate, to be grateful, to connect with cacao, connect with the plants so that we can connect with ourselves, our path, our purpose, and the earth
Mm-hmm.
that's always there to support and nourish us. Thank you so much, Christine, for sharing all your wisdom. I'm so happy to have learned more
Mm-hmm.
about the Mayan calendar, Mayan cross, because we are so ignorant. And yeah, I'm really grateful that you accepted my invitation to come to the Sacred Roots podcast. You are going to send us some links. So for
Yeah.
anyone that wants to connect with you, they can follow you on social media, your website, and potentially work with you and have a reading.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yay. Thank you so much for having me, Mathios.
Thank you,
Yay.
Christine. See you soon.
Bye.